the SIG is quite pleased to welcome everyone and very excited about the launch of this new initiative, this community of practice that we hope will be a regular event that we can have and yeah, where we can learn, exchange, and learn from each other, and just exchange ideas on this always developing area of EdTech, especially with artificial intelligence. So that was mostly will be our focus for these sessions. So, well, if there are any questions along the way, please send them in the chat. And Sophie, if you can let me know if there's anything there. But today, first, we'll do a quick introduction on what a community of practice is. Yeah, because before we hit the ground running, so a community of practice will be this space for exchanging ideas. Today we will have a presenter who will be sharing, but the idea is that a community of practice it's made up of the ideas of all the members. So it's not necessarily something we will have an expert always sharing with us, but it's exchanging ideas, what we found out, and that's why we'll see towards the end where you will also have the opportunity in future sessions to share some of your ideas. So before we start, let's gather some of your thoughts and opinions. Please scan the QR code, or if you prefer to join using the web version, just type www.menti.com and enter that code, and get ready for 2 quick questions just to learn about a little bit about your experience using some of the tools that we're going to explore today, which are custom GPTs or agents. You might have heard that term. Okay, I can see a few thumbs up. Thank you for that. Around 30 people joined Mentimeter. Beautiful. All right, so I'll give you 10 more seconds and I'll move on to our next slide with the first question. All right, here we go. Can you see that question on your devices? Yeah, I can see a few people voting. Sort of a funny view here. See if I can access the scores. So have you heard about before? Have you used custom GPTs or agents before? All right, 16 people answering yes. And we've got 12 people who had never used AI custom GPTs or agents before. Interesting. Okay. And even for those who have used them before, we hope that today you will get some new ideas on how you can use them to make your teaching, your planning more efficient. And next question.
Gabriel, yes. Can I just jump in and say, I don't know if anyone else did the same thing, but there was an option to send a comment and a comment box, and I wrote yes, and then it just said to me, you didn't respond in time. So clearly I've missed the yes/no option. So
no
sorry.
No problem. I did see a few yeses and nos popping up on the right of
my
my
apologies.
screen. So no problem. That's okay. That's all right. But thank you for answering anyway. So now we're going to have this sort of word cloud, one repetitive task. You could use AI to simplify your work and to do it for you. Let's see, marking, lots of marking. Create lessons. Okay, I like that. Checking criteria, PD event promotion, feedback. That's a big one. lots of action research happening in that area. Wonderful presentations at the EA conference. Timetable. Very good. So marking and creating lessons seems to be, as well as feedback, seem to be the main areas where teachers are looking for improving using AI and making more efficient. And I think that's great because some of the content that we're going to introduce today and the discussions will revolve around this idea of how to create lessons in a more efficient way. And our presenter today will be Chris, and he will be sharing with us some of these, some of the custom GPTs he's been using at the English Language Center with us. So thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts and your ideas. So for the rest of the session, we are going to be doing the following. First, there will be, we'll have a key presentation of one of our guest speakers who will be sharing his experience and his knowledge using custom GPTs or agents. There will be opportunities to experiment using these custom GPTs that Chris will provide for you in small groups. We will be sharing and creating a collaborative document with some of our ideas and our experience using the tools as well. And we will finish with some final thoughts and of course linking, connecting to our next session. So let me introduce our presenter today. So Chris Wasso from the University of Adelaide's English Language Center. So Chris works at the English Language Center here at the University of Adelaide. He's an English program manager, and well, at the center he has contributed with across different areas. He's done a lot of work in action research in teams at the center, and he used to also work in a role of academic integrity and assessment, and also outside of or beyond the ELC, Chris has also engaged in national programs like the Academic Managers Special Interest Group Mentorship Program. He's presented at many conferences at the Festival of Teaching and Learning here at the University of Adelaide, SAPD Fests, and also at the UECA Assessment Symposium, sharing his expertise with the broader academic community. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm going to welcome Chris, who has been using these. He actually presented at the SAPD Fest back in 2023, and we were all very amazed about custom GPTs. So he was definitely ahead of the times in a way. So Chris, over to you.
Well, thank you, Gabriel. Hi, and hello, everyone. There's quite a few people here. It's nice to see some of you with the cameras on. We will have a bit of breakout work a bit later. So once that happens, it would be great if you could turn the camera on for that portion. So like Gabriel said, let me share my screen here. Today I'm going to quickly run through a little bit about custom GPTs. And it's clear, I guess, from Gabriel's Menti poll that some of you have experience in this and some of you don't. And so it's hard to tailor this to everyone's needs. So if this is brand new, I hope you find it interesting. If it's treading familiar ground, then I hope at least you get a new idea or two. So before we get started, let me pop up another few things here. Or maybe everyone can use the reactions in Zoom. Who has had to make some material for their class in the last week? Can you put a thumbs up? Who has had to make material for their class in the last week? Yeah, I'm seeing quite a few thumbs going up there. All right, let me pop something up here. I've had to do the same recently. In our general English program, we recently went through a curriculum refresh. We chose a new course book, and so one of the things I've been doing is supplementing the curriculum with other resources, and particularly for reading and listening workshops to extend what the course book does and to explore the vocab and the grammar in new contexts. And so let me show you, let me just show you one of those as an example. Here's the reading text. Here is the task sheet or the task pages. So some previewing tasks, reading comprehension tasks, in-depth reading skill, vocab practice, and critical thinking discussions at the end. And then last one, here's the teacher's pages. So the lesson plan, we've got timing, the purpose of each of the sections, some comments about useful functional language or differentiation strategies. So I know if you've used custom GPTs before, you're not allowed to answer, but how long do you think it took me to put all of that together? You don't have to answer out loud, but just have a think. How long would it take to put something like that together? The lesson plan, the task pages. Obviously, there's a bit of formatting going on in there too to make it look pretty, and the reading text. Well, for me, this took about maybe 40 minutes to get done from start to finish, which is good because I have quite a few of them to make. And so what we're talking about today, what Gabriel's mentioned a few times, is a particular tool that exists in a number of AI chatbots now. I'm going to speak primarily, and we're going to see examples from ChatGPT, but these are becoming more and more available across different LLMs. And there's a few different names. We'll see a few of them in practice, and we'll look at how with a bit of setup you can use them to just save massive amounts of time for many different teaching tasks and responsibilities. Unfortunately, marking is not one that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not sure that personal AIs are really up to that task yet, but so like Gabriel said, we've got about an hour, and I hope by the end of that, if you're not familiar with what these custom GPTs or agents are, that you'll come to appreciate the value proposition that these have compared to just using a regular chatbot, like opening up ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or whichever one you like. What the value proposition is of these as compared to those. We'll see a few in action. You'll get a chance in breakout rooms to try them out yourself, some of the ones that I've made. And in our discussions, hopefully we'll be able to consider some different use cases for these in your own teaching practice. So another question for you, and thanks everyone for answering stuff in the chat. Just have a quick eyeball. Here's just a few of the LLMs that people use these days. If you don't look too closely, can you tell which one is which? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Look, I'd say if you could tell the difference between them just at a glance, you're probably a bit of a power user of these things. One is ChatGPT. Two is Copilot, yes. Three, yeah, good, yeah, okay, everyone's got it. 3 is Gemini. 4 is a trick one because it's an old screenshot. Gabriel's got it. That one's Perplexity. Yeah, so if you're like me, then when you use these initially, if you've used these over the last few years, you may have started to maintain a list of some very carefully crafted prompts for different needs. Maybe you saved them in a Word document, and every time you needed to use it, you had to manually retrieve them, copy and paste them into ChatGPT. And that process is definitely cumbersome, and it's messy, and it's hard to keep organized, but it does work. And so in comes these I think it, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, I think late 2023 in comes OpenAI with their custom GPTs. And since then, of course, a few other big players have brought their own versions to the market. And so there it is on the right-hand side. That's what a custom GPT looks like. And it's quite similar, right? Do you notice any differences compared to the ones we just looked at? I mean, you might see there's like a little icon in the middle. It even says my name there. There's a few prompts that are different to what the usual ones are when you log into these things. And so what I think OpenAI was aiming to do late 2023, and now what other companies are getting on board with, is they're trying to solve that problem of needing to keep a big bank of prompts, and letting us just chuck that into one of the custom bots to save us that scut work of having to copy and paste and save that. So just if you're not familiar with that term, let me give you a bit more of a specific definition. A custom GPT, I think, was we haven't seen a lot of evolution from them since they've come out, but I think it was the first step in trying to improve the way that we interact with these language models, but specifically in a way where we can customize them to our specific needs or our specific goals. So unlike your regular ChatGPT or Copilot, which requires, repeated prompting, iteration, every time you start a new chat, you have to do this. These custom GPTs enable you to have specific instructions or details of your teaching contexts or your goals or some uploaded documents sort of baked in to the chatbot, which helps make sure you can consistently tailor your responses without the need to repeat that every single time. It'll remember that about you. And that's powerful because it means you can repeatedly generate content that aligns with your needs or your standards or your requirements. And you can reduce the amount of time you need to spend on that prompting. And then you can focus on the higher level tasks like refining the outputs or the quality control. So in this way, I think these custom GPTs definitely have potential to create a much more efficient and effective and personalized AI chatbot experience. And fortunately, making these is reasonably simple. Now, that's sort of outside of the scope of this session, but I believe Gabrielle and Christy might talk to you all a bit later about some follow-ups to this session, which may or may not look at how to make these things effectively. So today we're just looking at what they are, what they can do, and how to make them well. That will come soon, I believe. But this is when I started using these. I think this was a nice way to think about it. And it's like having an assistant in your pocket. And of course, we know about LLMs now that they're experts in literally everything, including language teaching and testing. But because they're your assistant, they know your context and they know exactly what you want, and you don't ever have to repeat yourself with that. And so I think the key question is, as we look at some of the ones that I made in a minute, the question is, what would you do with such an assistant? I know personally, you might decide to provide it with your work history, with a CV and maybe some examples of job applications. And then you have a career coach who can tailor support and target gaps in your experience. Or you could support students to make their own custom GPTs, and maybe they input their CEFR level and their recent IELTS test scores, maybe an assessment criteria on a task rubric. And then they've got a tutor who knows their level and can provide feedback in terms of criteria that they're assessed on in their current program. And so I guess one caveat, of course, is ChatGPT's version is paid, but we'll look at some others that are free to use and some that you may be able to access through your institution. So like I said, there's when this came out, OpenAI was sort of the pioneer here, but now the other players have started to come out with their own competitors. So this is, if you're familiar with Google's Gemini model, Their custom GPT feature is called Gems. And effectively, it's the same thing. And I think a real challenge with keeping up to date with this technology is just being aware of the terminology. So Gemini's gems are the custom GPTs from Google. Microsoft has their own version. Microsoft's chatbot is called Copilot, but their custom GPT thing is called Agent. So if you've heard that word, that's really probably what someone was referring to, the agents. And of course, OpenAI calls theirs custom GPTs. And I think we'll see some instructions later about how to set them up. And I'm not going to talk about it in detail now, but I just wanted to reiterate that it's actually not very difficult to make these things. So when you do, you often have two options. Often on the left side, you'll have a page where you can work with a ChatGPT to write your instructions, and it'll help you with that process. And then on the right side is like a preview panel or the test bed where you can trial it and troubleshoot. And if it's not responding in the way that you like, then you can, or the way that you intended, you can refine, and it's very iterative. You discuss your needs with the chatbot and it updates the instructions, you test out your results, and you can kind of just repeat this until it's producing something that you like. The other option, and this might be homework after your session today, is to do it manually. Most of these chatbots let you do it with the support of the chatbot itself, or let you do it manually, where you provide things like the name of the custom GPT, a description about what it does, the custom instructions. So this is that bit of information that's always baked in that it will remember and you don't have to repeat again and again. As well as uploading documents like what you can see a bit lower down, knowledge documents, which these bots can refer to during its regular use. And remember, you can do all of these things. I think it's important to note that you can do all of these things with a regular ChatGPT or regular Claude or regular Gemini. But the value here is you don't have to do it every time you start a new conversation. That's a cumbersome process. And here we don't have to do that every time we start. It's really a set and forget sort of thing. So we're going to go out to break rooms in just a minute. But I wanted to show you some, earlier I showed you the examples of that reading text, the task pages, and the lesson plan. I'll show you what those chats look like, and then we'll go out and try to use them ourselves. But before we do that, and before I show you the examples of the chat, I just want you to think about these questions for the next few minutes while we do that. So just imagine in your current context at your center, just suppose that you want to make, or you want to use an LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, whichever one, to make some reading workshops that are appropriate for your current class's level, that contain a reading text, and that also contain pedagogically sound follow-up tasks and activities. 3 questions for you to just reflect on as we continue. What instructions would you need to provide to this custom GPT to ensure, and here's the key word, to ensure that it consistently generates a task that meets your needs or standards or center requirements? Do you want tasks to appear a certain way? Is there a specific format of questioning or question stems or templates that are common in your center? How would you specify that in your instructions? What kind of guidance or clarification would you need to provide to make sure that it's generating, in particular, high quality learning activities? The ones we're looking at today are for reading texts, but maybe the instructions you give for listening texts and listening questions are different, because I even see Sophia, sorry to call you out, Sophia, but I was at the English Australia conference the other week, and Sophia talked about good principles for listening text test item design. That's the sort of clarification that's needed if you want these things to be able to repeatedly generate high quality and pedagogically sound tasks. All right, let me open up one of these links here. Now, I believe Sophie will be able to share these slides with everyone. So I'm going to run through this very quickly, but if you wanted to have another look yourself later, open up the slides, click these links. These are just some of the links to the chats. Whoops. Some of the links to the chats that I've used for some of the recent reading workshops I've done. I just wanted to show you what I have to put in without a prompt. So you notice here, well, let me zoom in a bit. What do you notice here? There's no prompt, right? So I didn't say, hello, ChatGPT, today I want you to do this or this or that. What do you see there? I'll open this up. This looks like your life, almost like a unit overview. I was making supplementary materials for this course book, so I've got the name of the course book and the CEFR level of the students in this workshop this was intended to support, as well as the goals of the unit that I was trying to align it to. Now that's all I put really. I didn't put anything else, no other prompts. I just put a screenshot of the unit, the goals of the unit, and I said, enter, go. So the way I've designed my custom GPT is to first produce a lesson plan. It'll provide me what the level is, the unit themes, what the skills focuses are, if it's a skills lesson, like a reading or a listening lesson. And you might recognize this from the Word document earlier, but a lesson plan with the stages, the timing, the purpose, differentiation strategies, and functional language. The first prompt, it'll make me a before you read task. It'll make the reading passage. I don't have to really do anything else at this stage. You can see my amazing prompting is not really that amazing. I just say continue, because the way I designed it is to accept that sort of prompting. All I want to do is put in the unit goals, and I want it to do the rest. Then I say continue, and it'll continue. It's made reading comprehension with some gist, detail, reference, inference, and vocabulary and context questions. And it's given me my reading skill extension. In this case, it looks like it was about evaluating evidence, evaluating claims and evidence, excuse me. And then it said, okay, now that's done. Shall I continue with the last parts, vocab practice, critical thinking, and reading? Okay, I've just said, all right, yep, that looks good. Let's continue. Off it goes. It's done the vocab practice, critical thinking, post-reading tasks, and finally it gives me the answer key. Now, often, as you all know, if you've been using these LLMs, there's a lot of quality control that needs to go on. You really do need to evaluate what it's outputting to see if it's fit for your purpose. And so often when I've been using these, I've gone through the process, I've reviewed it, and I write some updates that I want. In this case, I wanted a different set of before you read tasks. I didn't want a KWL, know, want, learn. I wanted something a bit more interactive. I wanted the speaking task to be expanded as a gallery walking task for the students to get up and have some movement in the lesson. I wanted more detailed questions, and I wanted it to write some true-false questions. And then it does the updates. And of course, it's great at doing pictures too. So all in all, it didn't really take a very long time. I think, honestly, after reviewing it and getting it into a Word document, the formatting, because I'm not great at formatting, that's what took me the longest time in Microsoft Word. But it can only do this because I've designed the instructions to output in a very specific way, in a way that's appropriate for us at the ELC and our context, and in a way that I think is pedagogically sound. Oh, some things popping up in the chat. I'll have a look. Sorry, everyone. I'll have a look at some of the comments in a bit. What I might do in the interest of time is I won't go to the next one, but once you get the slides later, if you want to have a closer look and sort of scrutinize those chats, you're very welcome to. Because what I want to do now is I want to give you all a chance to use them. So I've got instructions on here, and I think Sophie's going to share with us some links to some Word documents with the work with the activities. But there are 3 custom GPTs that I want you to try. So the one we've just looked at was my reading workshop designer. But I've got another one to support vocab. It's called Vocab Builder. And a last one, which a lot of our teachers here at the ELC use, is the CCQ writer to help with writing concept checking questions. So the instructions are in the Word document that we'll send to you. Now, we're going to do this in groups, and Gabriel and Sophie, what's the best way for us to move forward with this now?
So I've created some breakout rooms, and the name of each breakout room has the name of the handout that your group should focus on. So before you jump into your breakout rooms, just check if it's handout 1, handout 2, or handout 3. And I am going to pop all 3 handouts in the chat now so that you can link to your appropriate handout based on the name of your breakout room. Does that make sense to everyone?
Thanks, Sophie. So in that handout, you'll find the instructions, and you'll also find some screenshots of our course book. So the purpose of this activity is to try and get you to use this, to see what you can produce just by putting in some lesson goals and a picture of a textbook. But by all means, feel free to use your own course book, or feel free to go off script and just put in something else and see what happens. Because when we come back, we'll sort of talk about how it went, what some of the limitations are, because there are limitations. And then that will probably bring us to about time for the session.
There's a Padlet link as well, Chris. I don't know if you want to share that for people to type some of their ideas, or we just discuss.
Whatever you think, Gabriel.
Okay. Yeah, there's a link in the chat as well to a Padlet if you and your group want to just add some of the ideas that you're discussing, your experience using the custom GPT, and share a link to your chat so then we can see your conversation as well. That's optional.
Perfect. And how long do people have in the rooms, Chris?
Gabriel, what did we plan? I think
we have 10 minutes for that.
About 10 minutes. So don't dilly-dally. Get someone to share their screen. Make sure you've got those 3 the links open with the handouts, and just check what your group name is, so you're using the right one. So every group is doing something a little bit different.
Okay, brilliant. Shall I open the rooms now?
Thanks, Sophie. Yeah, let's do that. And if you have any questions, just let us know, or hit that button on the bottom. I think it says ask for help, and we can jump in and give you a hand.
What we'll do, if you feel ready to go, if this session has got you thinking, I'm ready, I want to start building, then we will be sending some instructions via email on how to build these using Copilot. So that's on the assumption, recognizing that you might not actually have a paid GPT account to make custom GPTs. So if that is the case, then the instructions on how to use the Copilot version on Copilot agents will be coming your way. If you actually would prefer to use custom GPTs with ChatGPT, shoot us an email back and we can send you some resources on how to do that. So if you're ready to go, then in our next session, we will look at those, the ones that you have built, and we would love for you to come to the sessions with some custom GPTs or agents that you have built, show us how it went, talk through your problems or hopefully your successes. And for those people who aren't yet ready, that's absolutely no problem. We will also do a walkthrough in the next session on how to build. So there will be something for everyone. Closer to the time, we'll reach out and let you know the date. And we'll also ask if anybody is ready to share their experiences on what they've built. But yes, we're hoping to carry on this topic and to get hands-on, really. Gabrielle, back to you.
Thank you so much, Christy. I'm excited already. You made me excited about it. That's
Good.
great. But well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sophie, as well, for an English Australia, for like facilitating this space, and for all your support in organizing everything for the professional development of all the teachers here in Australia. So thank you so much, Sophie, for that. So as usual. I don't know if you want to add anything before.
No,
we
I just wanted to
wrap
say
up
a big
today.
thank you to Gabrielle, Chris, and Christy, who's here, as well as the other EdTech SIG conveners, for getting this group started. So the SIG had this idea, and they've driven the launch of this group and today's session. So thank you so much. It was a really useful session, and there's some really positive feedback in the chat as well. Thanks to everybody for coming, and let's keep this group going. Hopefully it will grow. It's very informal, so if you're not prepared with a custom GPT for the next session, that's absolutely fine. Please just turn up, because there will be some people who will bring their custom GPTs as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.